Randy Orton has opened up on Vince McMahon, had a lot of interesting comments to make about him, the weird creative process, the frustrating creative process in which WWE was under Vince McMahon's leadership until Triple H took over main roster creative in summer of 2022. And there's a lot more that Orton had to say. In this video, I'm going to tell you what exactly he had to say, because Randy Orton has been around for a while, y'all. He has seen them come, he has seen them go, he has seen rises, he has seen fallen talent across the board, male or female. He's also got to be able to get really close with not only Triple H due to his evolution days, but also Vince McMahon. I don't think people really recognize the impact and negative one of that Vince McMahon had on WWE's product. If you look at what he did to the AEW, or to the WWE product, I should say, and AEW's product as well. And I'll tell you why in a minute. The reason that he had an impact negatively on WWE is because the reason AEW's product and popularity took off so quickly in 2019 and 2020 and 2021 is because of the horrific product in which Vince McMahon was presenting on a weekly basis. And Randy Orton touched on something that I thought was very interesting, and I don't think a lot of people really value as much as we should as fans. Because as fans, we want to see the best product with the best storyline, with the best matches, with the best outcomes. And the problem with that in a lot of ways is wrestling is subjective. Creative is subjective. You may like vanilla ice cream while I like chocolate, right? And then you have to deal with various flavors and various products, just like various wrestling with various styles. And WWE has always been more of a storyline-driven product, while an AEW was a in-ring driven product. Vince McMahon was one of the most influential people on wrestling for various reasons, and I could spend all day talking about that. With Randy Orton, and I want to get into his background with WWE in a minute, but at first I want to tell you what Randy Orton had to say about Vince McMahon and WWE in the creative process, because he's one of the guys that's been around for a while. He's seen the Ruthless Aggression era. He has seen the rise of a John Cena and Batista and himself. He's seen the PG era, and now we are in the Renaissance era, or the Triple H era, if you will. And he did a recent interview with Adam's Apple. It's a YouTube channel. He does great interviews, and I wrote this for Wrestling News Co. He was asked about how WWE and its creative direction process, if you will, has changed since Vince McMahon got booted out of his company, and because he's a horrific person facing horrific allegations, and Triple H taking over creative. He said, with Nick Khan, Triple H, and Bruce Pritchard, so many things have changed from a creative standpoint. They're thinking months and months and months in advance. Before, we were kind of flying by the seat of our pants. Creative was changed minutes before we would go live each week. I don't mean sometimes, I mean each week creative was changed. It'd be 5 p.m. You'd be on the East Coast going live in 2 or 3 hours, and you wouldn't know what you were doing. And that's a very stressful environment. You're not going to have the best product in the world if you're doing that like every week. So just purely from a creative standpoint, you're able to let it marinate and think about, okay, how am I going to do this? Or how can I make this better? Or maybe there are tweaks, but you can't do it 10 minutes before you go live, end quote. Very, very interesting. He's 100% right. So Vince McMahon would always have the reputation that he would just change creative on the fly. How many times did you go to Twitter or whatever your favorite website, and it'd be, I don't know, 2-3 hours before the show would go live every Monday night, and you would see a report about how Vince, he had, just ripped up the script, the format of the show, and was rewriting it himself. Not making a change or a few changes, the entire show. And he was doing this on a weekly basis. Now, if he's doing this the day of the show, hours before the show goes live, can you imagine what the war room was like during the week when WWE Creative was trying to come up with an idea of what they were going to do just that week, let alone a month plans, a year of plans, 6 months of plans, right? How do you build around that? Well, that was one of the reasons why the WWE product sucked for so many years. The in-ring talent was always good because of the talent. They put on good matches because you had the right pieces in place. And so you knew as a WWE fan for years and years and years, while weekly television, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, well, it probably was going to suck. At least you knew once the bell rang, you were going to get an in-ring product that you were looking for. But then AEW came about, and it's like, oh, we'll give you that product, and oh, by the way, we'll give you feuds that actually make sense and have a conclusive or decisive ending to them. And WWE, you didn't get all of that. And that is the big difference. And that is the reason why so many people have praised Triple H. What's funny about Triple H's booking is it's very simple and it's very straightforward. And there's usually not a lot of, swerves, right? We're not pulling a Vince Russo where he wants to swerve you to the point where you're getting car sick. Thank God Kevin Dunn is no longer producing weekly WWE television as well. Can I get an amen? And so Triple H, he'll tell you a story, and it's a very simple story. You know how the story's going to end, but you love the story anyway. That's great storytelling. You don't have to go through this roller coaster of emotions all the time. If it's a good story, you just tell the story, right? You don't have to insert speed bumps or ramps just for the heck of it, because your format or your foundation in which that storyline is built upon doesn't make a lot of sense. That's the beauty about Triple H. That's the beauty about what WWE is doing in 2024. And for a guy like Randy Orton, who's been around the block, who has grown as a person, who has grown as a wrestler, who has literally been handpicked by Triple H dating back to 2002, 2003-ish, to form the Evolution group alongside Ric Flair and Dave Bautista. And he saw Randy Orton as the next guy, as the future of the company. And he was certainly a large part of the future of WWE. Now, no one really thought that a Dave Bautista or certainly a John Cena was going to do that, considering that John Cena was fired before, or he was going to be fired, or told he was going to be fired by Stephanie McMahon before he got into the rap game, before he started his rap gimmick, right? And so you've seen this progression. You've seen all the changes from Randy Orton, but he's also seen all of the changes and all of the progress and all of the growth behind the scenes. Year in, year out, he's been there. He's been on top of his game. He's been booked as a top star. And I think the longer we are removed from a Vince McMahon era, which is clearly done, regardless whether or not Triple H is in charge or not, we're all going to be a little bit better off, because what Vince McMahon was producing at the end of his run was absolutely horrific.